Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union 2022 Financial Webinar Series. Today's presentation is brought to you in partnership with Coffee, a nationwide financial coaching and education center focusing on improving the financial health of individuals. As the premier credit union of Prince George's County, we have joined with Coffee to expand our mission of providing quality financial education to our community and lending insight into credit management, home ownership, and money management. Sorry about that. Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union is a full-service financial institution serving anyone who lives, works, or worships in Prince George's County, Maryland. We're one of the county's best kept secrets with competitive loan and savings rates, as well as discounts to national retailers. We currently serve over 17,000 members in the area and welcome you to come and experience the benefits of membership as well. Later on in this presentation, we will display our contact information and answer any specific questions you may have concerning your financial needs. It's not too late to invite your friends and colleagues to join today's webinar. You should have received an email about 30 minutes ago. In that email is a link that you can pass along for them to register and join today's call. Please note that today's webinar is live and all phone lines have been muted. If you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the question box on the right-hand side of your menu bar. All questions are private and will be addressed at the end of today's discussion. We will also be offering a free 60-minute financial coaching session with the completion of 3 webinars. More information will be given at the end of today's presentation. Lastly, a recording of today's session will be available later today on our website at www.princegorgescfcu.org/webinar. And with that, we will turn it over to Ms. Doris Baker.
Thank you, Gerald, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share some financial education with you all today. Now, take a look at the questions on your screen or the statements. I'm stressed out over finances all the time. I sometimes feel stressed out about money. You are not alone if these are some statements that you have made or are making currently. Even worse, almost a third of all Americans feel like they're having a currency coronary all the time. And reluctantly or unfortunately, what we have been going through with COVID and its different variants haven't made some folks' situation much easier. But we're going to get into some information to share, and hopefully we can make your currency coronary condition disappear or not even come about. Next slide, please. Now, of course, here at Consolidated Credit, which is Coffee's parent company, we have done research and study after study, both independently and through other financial establishments. And we know that financial problems can cause physical problems. Consolidated Credits and Coffee certified counselors have repeatedly, they've seen and heard these same reports over the past couple of decades that we have been in business. Now, if you don't believe me, believe a life insurance company. That life insurance company is John Hancock, and it has a profitable reason to know exactly what kills its customers. Sorry to put it so bluntly. So it researches the causes. Next screen, please. When the company posed this question, the answer came back like this. But these are just facts and figures. Coffee hears from real people who are suffering. And I just want to quickly share their stories, and maybe they'll sound like yours or someone that you know. Next slide. So the first person we're going to take a look at their story is a young lady by the name of Maria. Now, Maria had nearly $8,000 in credit card bills and a credit score in the 400s. She couldn't even move into a new apartment because her score was so low. So we know that your score is checked when you go to look for new rental property. She had maxed out her credit cards and was paying a whopping 29.99% in interest charges. Like many people, Maria said, I was embarrassed about my situation and felt unsure where to begin. But when she finally dug herself out of debt, she told us she never felt happier. Now that's Miss Maria's story. Let's move on to our next one, which is Miss Sonia. Sonia, who ran up $3,000 on a department store credit card at 18 years old, told us I was scared. I hated answering my phone because I knew it would be someone asking, when are you going to send that payment? I remember having my back against the wall. I didn't know what to do. I was desperate. When she finally paid off that debt and all the other that she racked up along with it, she told us, I felt like someone had literally taken the shackles off my feet. So you see, with her debt freedom came a sense of really physical and I'm sure mental freedom. So as we talk about the mental capacity, let's move on to our next person, who is Miss Paula. Now, finally, I want to tell you about Paula. She happened to have been a mental health counselor who ran up big bills caring for her ailing father. Now, when her dad recovered, her finances didn't. And then she became sick, physically sick, from the financial stress, and may I add, mentally sick as well. She told us, as a mental health counselor, I know what it looks like when people suffer emotionally. And when I became consumed with debt, I was there. I was stressed all the time. Now, if you want to know more as we move to the next slide about these women's struggles and how they eventually conquered their debts, you can go to our website under Debt Stories and you can read all about it. And now that we've told you enough depressing and sort of scary things, let's talk about your prognosis and find out if you're suffering from any debt stress. If you are, please know this, that you are not alone, as we move to our next slide. So maybe you're thinking, this doesn't apply to me. I'm not suffering from a financial crisis. I have and I am weathering the whole COVID-19 thing wonderfully well. I had no problems with the shutdown. Life is good. And that in that case, let me be the first to congratulate you and tell you that you should be very thankful that you were not affected. But our own polling shows that more than half the nation was affected in some sort of way financially by COVID-19. And let me tell you something else. COVID-19 isn't the only threat that's out there. Your finances are vulnerable to what we call the 5 big catastrophes. And outside of a worldwide pandemic, these are threats that are here among us all the time. As we move to our next slide, let me talk to you about them. So most Americans make ends meet each and every month, but there's just a little room, if any, for any errors. There's little room for margins of error. One serious car accident that keeps you from going to work, or a bitter divorce that splits your income while paying attorneys, say a chronic illness that costs money to treat and affects your income, or a natural disaster that requires replacing so much of your belongings, all of these can literally wipe you out. And of course, add layoffs, which were a huge problem during the shutdown, as were furloughs and pay cuts. So you see, you have the big five that are showing on your screen there: accident, divorce, illness, layoff, natural disaster. Next slide, please. So even if you think that your finances are healthy, the real question is this: it's, have you built up your money immunity? During the government shutdown of 2018, which seems like it was so long ago, especially with COVID coming through more recently, one of the big stories was just how many federal workers didn't have enough money in the bank to miss even one or two paychecks without having to take out a loan to cover their bills. Okay, think about that, one or two paychecks. And I don't know about you, when I think about government employees, I think about employees or are a part of our work sector that make very decent salaries. Okay, as we move to our next slide, let's get more into it. In fact, less than 40% of all Americans have enough money saved to cover an emergency costing $1,000. And that's according to a very depressing Bankrate report from last year. That makes it hard to stay financially healthy because, just like flu season, money problems are sure to come your way eventually. And when they come, they're going to affect you and or your family. Next slide, please. So now that leads us to this slide, which we're going to talk a little bit about preventative medicine. Let me ask you, how can you bolster your money immune system? Well, top way is an emergency fund, and it's the easiest way, but it can be a bitter pill to swallow. And you may ask, why such a bitter pill? And that is because you need to contribute to it in small ways, and you need to be consistent and intentional, meaning you need to do it all the time. Let's face it, when you're facing debt stress, it's because you just simply don't have any money, right? So how are you supposed to, save money when you don't have money? Well, let me tell you this: the best place to start is with your pocket change. And I mean that seriously. You set aside small amounts all the time. For instance, you have one less coffee from the drive-through of your favorite coffee shop. If you're accustomed to buying lunch each week, then you or every day, you're gonna brown bag it one or more days per week. You're gonna make some concessions and some adjustments in order to start to get that emergency fund going. Next page, let's talk a little bit more about that emergency fund. Once you get into a rhythm of small contributions, you can start building up your emergency fund to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Now, nobody fall out, okay? Because that's just the gold standard of emergency funds amongst financial advisors. That is the advice, to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses. How do you do that? Well, the best way is automatically. For instance, if you get paid via direct deposit, and most of us do, I think it's a bit over 80%, then you can ask your company to split your direct deposit. And how that looks is you would have your pay going into one bank account, and then you can send something to a savings account, okay? So all you need to do is to set up that separate emergency savings account, inform your HR department that you would like X amount of dollars, which can be easily changed as you get more and more accustomed to giving into that emergency account, and they can automatically set that up for you. Now, this works especially well when you get a raise. You just send the extra cash. I don't care how small it is. Just send it directly to your emergency fund until you build it up to cover that 3 to 6 months of living expenses. I like to say until you build it up, depending on where you're located with your emergency fund and savings, until you build it up to that first 1,000. Take baby steps in order to get there. Just get there. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, what if you're feeling a pain in your head or your chest from all the debt you're carrying? Then you need more than preventative medicine. You need a thorough checkup. But I want to tell you, be calm. And I mean it. CALM stands for create a plan, automate bill payment, lower spending, and make progress. So let me go ahead and break that down. But before we do, I want you to please contact Prince George's County Federal Credit Union to receive a comprehensive financial checkup. Gerald, do you have any additional input on this comprehensive financial checkup? If not, we can just move along to the next slide. I wanted to give you the opportunity though.
Yes, we do. Sorry, I was trying to unmute my mic.
Okay.
If you visit our homepage, we have a section on our site where we list all the benefits for members. And I'll get you the exact URL and I'll place it in the chat. But you can go on there and you'll see all the benefits that members can take advantage of. And as Doris mentioned, one of those is financial consultation, and our member service representative is also very good at referring financial products and walking you through different financial products as well. So I'll get everyone that information in a second.
Okay. All righty. So we can move to the next slide of my presentation as we talk about CALM. So the C in CALM is for create a plan. Now, here I go again, and I know for the past couple of weeks, if any of you have been to the previous seminars or webinars that have been held this month, you are so sick and tired of me talking about a budget, but here I go again, okay? No one, including myself, likes to hear the words make a budget. But let me tell you, it is so easy to do it these days. And of course, I'm going to tell you again, if you don't like the idea of putting pen to paper, there are other alternatives. I'm going to suggest that if your credit union, okay, has a budgeting program within their online banking platform, let that be your first choice, given that you don't like old school with pen and paper and your tablet or whatever. There are online budgeting tools that are very safe and they're easy. All you have to do is type in the amounts you spend in different categories. Tell the truth by all means, okay? And these powerful tools, they do the heavy lifting, which I call the math. They do it all for you. They also let you see how much you can save per year by shaving off just a few dollars per week. Remember earlier, I spoke about if you brown bag it a couple of days, if you put those calculations into most of these online programs, it will project how much you would save in a year or 6 months or whatever you feed into it. It'll let you know how much you would save by just cutting that cost from going out to lunch every day. Okay, so that's something you must do in order to save. We have to know where our funds are going so that we can make the proper adjustments, okay? Moving on to the A and CALM, which is automate bill payment. Here again, we are embracing technology. How I mentioned, if your credit union, you're going to check to see if they have a budgeting tool within their online banking program. Here again, with automated bill payment, you're going to embrace that same technology that can help you save more and less time than ever. When I said that same technology, I meant automatic bill pay through your online banking, but of course you can also do it directly through your creditors as well. It's whatever floats your boat, okay? So we mentioned this earlier when we talked about that emergency savings account. We talked about, shunting or sending some of that money over to that account. But instead of just automating your savings, you can automate your payments. Now, almost every credit union, credit card, bank, whatever, and even many municipal utilities offer automatic bill pay. You set the day when you want a bill to be paid, and that amount is automatically deducted from your bank account right then and not a day sooner. So you may ask, what's the advantage besides the worry of paying bills? And the advantage is you'll never pay a late fee again. Do you know that for some of your credit cards, and some of you may already know that you have your particular day that you need to pay your credit card bill. But I also learned that with some of them, you have a particular time by which to have that bill paid. And if you are just 1 minute late, you can expect to incur a late fee. So with automated bill pay, you would not have that worry. I just thought I'd add that because that's something I learned personally. Moving on to the L, which is lower spending. Now, of course, there is a danger to that automatic bill payment. And that is that if you blow your budget on some debit card purchases you've forgotten, you might not notice how low your bank balance is getting, okay? That's why it is so important to cut your spending. And since we're talking about health and debt, let's compare spending to another good subject of mine, which is dieting. So you can go on a crash diet and you can shed a lot of pounds, but that's also called a yo-yo diet because you just can't maintain that forever. Same thing happens with money. If you cut your spending so drastically that you suffer through the day, eventually you'll crack and you'll go on a spending binge. So instead, just like dieting, you're going to make small lifestyle changes. Do you clip coupons? Do you search out BOGO deals? Have you looked at all the subscription services you signed up for to make sure you really use them? I'd like to invite everyone on this webinar that is one of the first things you do when you're looking at lowering your spending. Look at all your subscription services, from Netflix to Hulu, from Spotify to Apple Music, from Kindle to Audible. Look into it and just ask yourself, how much do you really need this? Do you need the XM or Sirius radio? Just examine everything that you're paying for. Ensure that you look at not only your bank statement, but look at your credit card statements as well, and just examine them and do some soul searching as to, do you need everything that you're paying for as far as subscription services? Moving on to the M, which is make progress. Now, if you take this advice, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be totally transparent. You won't notice a big change right away. But again, it's just like dieting and eating right. You don't just wake up the next day and you're weighing less and you're feeling better. It takes time. And the process is usually slow and gradual, at least it is in my case. But one day you suddenly notice, you're like, hey, okay, it's something's fitting a little better here. My body feels a little lighter. And then with this, because you're making the financial adjustments that you need to make, you can also pat that wallet and say it's feeling a little heavier. So it's like a win-win situation. So the last part of calm is maybe the most important part, and that is you've got to be patient, and you'll see progress. I'm a living witness. I'm here to tell you that if you put forth the effort, the consistency, the dedication, the determination, you will see the difference in your finances. Moving on to my next slide. Now, if you embrace calm, okay, but still feel stressed out about your finances, there's another C to consider, and it's called coaching. Once again, let's compare this to your health. Even if you eat right and exercise, you'll probably be physically fit. Okay, that's a given because you're doing the work. But every so often, you'll get sick. And sometimes home remedies don't work, and you will need to seek out the assistance of a medical professional. Well, sometimes your finances get sick, even when you do everything right. Now, we talked earlier about those big five catastrophes, the natural disasters, illness, family problems, all of that can blow your budget to pieces. Now, sometimes a small bad habit grows into a big money ailment. When that happens, you need to consult a financial expert. Luckily, you can talk to a financial expert easier than you can sometimes consult your doctor. First, you don't need an appointment. You can call a certified credit counselor at a nonprofit credit counseling agency at almost any time. And secondly, that is free with no copay. And you can receive a free debt analysis that will help you figure out how to get financially healthy. I wanted to let you know that we do have coffee coaches available to you. But as we move on to the next slide, let's just talk a little bit so we can have some clarity about coaching. Of course, just like doctors, let's be totally honest, some financial counselors are better than others. Experts say to look for these things. First of all, the agency should be around for many years, decades, hopefully. It should have certified counselors, which means they take a standardized test to ensure they know what they're talking about. And they have to retake that test every 2 years. They should have the highest rating for the Better Business Bureau. And finally, they should have many excellent reviews from reputable review websites. These are the things that you should look for when it comes to searching for a counselor, of course, outside of your financial institution. That concludes everything I have for my presentation today. I'm going to hand it back over to Gerald for any questions or closing remarks. Gerald, back to you.
All right, thank you, Doris.
You're welcome.
So that concludes today's webinar. And it also includes our January series of webinars. So thank you again, Doris. And thank you for coordinating with us. And thank you for hosting these classy webinars.
You're very welcome.
If you would like to learn more about Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union or speak to a member service representative, please visit www.princegeorgiacfcu.org, or you can call 800-952-7428. We'd like to thank again Ms. Doris Baker and Coffee for their continued support. We're also inviting you to schedule your free 60-minute financial coaching session with Coffee. If you'd like to do so, please call 866-459-5165. Also, again, today's webinars, you'll be able to find the recordings for this January series at www.princegeorgiacfcu.org/webinar. And you can also go there to keep in touch with us and be on the lookout for any upcoming webinars that we have as well. And with that, everyone have a great day.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much.